Happy Star Wars Day from Tatooine Sons. If you're a regular listener of the show, you know already how much we love, cannot be stated enough, The Last Jedi. But today isn't about us, it's about you. So for the next 30 minutes, you are going to hear fans just like you celebrate this masterpiece of a film. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was amazing.
Welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and be endorsed by the writer and the director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of this generation, that there is a story, it is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is one of the many reasons why we love The Last Jedi so much. It taps into this mythology in so many different ways. I am David. I co-host this podcast with my two sons, Samuel the Hutt and BB Nate. They're both finishing up finals this week, so I'm flying solo on this special bonus episode, but that's okay, because the real stars of this episode are you. Last weekend, I asked our followers on Twitter to reply if they loved The Last Jedi, and the response was epic. Hundreds of likes and retweets and comments. It was awesome. And that's when I asked everyone who interacted with that tweet to send in voice messages telling why they love this film so much. But I realize that many of you may be first-time listeners to Tatooine Sons, so I want to give you a little bit of a background on our love for this film and answer a question we often get. Every episode opens with audio from the Star Wars moment that changed our lives, the moment that BB Nate asked Rian Johnson the question that also changed Star Wars history. A lot of people jump to the conclusion that we love The Last Jedi because of this moment, but that's just not the case. So here's the hyperspace version of the story. We launched Tatooine Sons on December 1st of 2017, just 2 weeks before the release of The Last Jedi. And when we first saw the film, we were absolutely mesmerized by it. We kept going back to see it over and over again. In fact, we saw it 9 times before January 31st, 2018. And that love for The Last Jedi resulted in our being invited to IMAX headquarters to view a screening of the film on that date, followed by a Q&A session with Rian Johnson. We were literally seated directly in front of Rian and the host of the Q&A, and then they opened up the floor to questions. So I jumped at the chance. First, thank you for an amazing movie.
Oh, thanks, man.
And
I appreciate it.
an experience that we've had 9 times as a family.
No kidding.
So
High fives.
It inspired us to put together our own little podcast that we do every week where we get to sit around and geek out about Star Wars.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. I love that.
Last night, we were eating dinner at a Chinese restaurant, and I opened my fortune cookie, and this is what it said. A lingering question will be answered happily tomorrow.
You see this? You see this smile on my face?
All right.
I'm ready to happily answer.
And it came up again during this movie, and so I'm sure that everybody in the room wants to know, did Chewie eat the porg?
Big smile. Absolutely not. Are you kidding me? No, he couldn't. That was the whole thing. He couldn't. He didn't eat it. He only killed and roasted it.
That seems so wasted to me. All right. It looks yummy. Now, after all that, as far as we were concerned, that was our big moment at the screening. A silly question about porg barbecue. But about 20 minutes later, I actually looked over at BB Nate and he was visibly upset. So in classic dad form, I asked him what on earth he was crying about, and he said he had a question to ask, but he was just too nervous to do it. Nathan was only 12 years old at the time. He was obviously intimidated by the whole scenario. So again, classic dad moment. I told him to either suck it up and ask the question or get over it. Anyway, so then about 20 minutes later, the interviewer gave the 5-minute warning. And then I looked over at BB Nate and he had fire in his eyes. His hand shot straight up in the air. Ryan called on him. And before he could even get a mic in his hand, BB Nate asked, what is the name of the Porg on the Millennium Falcon?
What is the name of the Porg on the Millennium Falcon?
There's a few, though, on the Millennium Falcon.
No, the main one. I know the one you're talking about.
The nest?
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment. What do you think?
Maybe Turbis?
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that Porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
I still get chills whenever I hear that clip. To kind of make a long story a little shorter, about 19 months later, 19 minutes. No, it was a lot longer than 19 minutes. 19 months later, Turbis the Porg became Star Wars canon in Star Wars Adventures Comics issues 27 through 29. So yes, this is one of the reasons why we love The Last Jedi, but it's about so much more than that. And we wanted you to know that we loved this movie long before this moment happened, and there's a lot of reasons behind it. But again, it's not about us, it's about you. And so many of you sent in messages that perfectly express how we feel about this movie. So buckle up, baby. Here we go.
Hey, David and non-twin sons. It's Cam from Cam Ray Semi Productions, providing mostly Star Wars-related comedy, parody, and satire.
And Supreme Chancellor Bub of the new Intergalactic Republic.
Yes, my monkey lizard Bub is with me.
Supreme Chancellor Bub?
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, the reason I love The Last Jedi is because I feel it best encapsulates all of the key elements of a Star Wars film. Putting the fact that the 3-act story wasn't written in the most ideal fashion aside, I believe it makes perfect nods to George Lucas's vision as a whole and to The Empire Strikes Back, through its cinematography, raising the stakes, creating heightened dilemmas, and by leaving you worse than you began, yet all with moments of humor and levity, and most importantly, hope. I went on quite the ride with The Last Jedi, and by letting the story drive the experience rather than any preconceived expectations or requirements, I feel it accomplishes perfectly what the middle act is supposed to accomplish. I think The Force Awakens was a perfect film to safely reintroduce Star Wars, but I feel like The Last Jedi took the fresh and bold steps a middle act requires in order to move the story in a fascinating direction, but all while maintaining the heart of Star Wars.
I hated it. There were no monkey lizards, and that is a blatant...
Sorry, Bub. Our prepaid minutes are almost expired.
But
thank you guys so much for your wonderful show. Love y'all, and thank you for being a positive voice in the Star Wars community. And if anyone is interested in mostly Star Wars related comedy, parody, and satire, I'd be honored for you to check out my content and connect with me on YouTube at Cam Ray Semi Productions or on Twitter at Cam Ray. May the Force be with you all.
Monkey lizards real.
Okay, I love The Last Jedi for so many reasons, but the number one reason is because of the way this film shows that it's possible to learn from failure and grow beyond it, even if that failure is something devastating, like Luke losing Ben. The idea that nobody is too big to fail, but that failure doesn't have to be the end, is incredible. I love that Luke's last stand is a pacifist one. I love Rose Tico with all my heart. Her kindness and courage are so inspiring. Finn trying charging alone toward the cannon at the end is one of the most insane and powerful moments in all of Star Wars. There's just too much to list it all, but I think it's one of the best Star Wars films, and I love it so much. My name is Brannon, by the way. I do have a YouTube channel, which is just my full name, Brannon Kirk Huang. Huang is spelled Huang, and Brannon is spelled like Brandon, but with 3 N's. Thank you. Have a great day.
Hey, Tatooine Son podcast. It's Mike from At I Chose Bulbasaur. And the reason I love Last Jedi is because it's the first time since the original trilogy where I had that same sense of, I don't know where this is going to go next. I remember as a kid watching Empire for the first time, and you're thinking, whoa, the rebels lost the battle? Whoa, the bad guy's the main character's dad? Whoa, the Jedi Master is a weird puppet. It was that constant, what now gets bashed around as subverting expectations, is what made it so much fun. It was an adventure. You didn't know what was coming next. And the moment I was sat at that Last Jedi showing, and the lightsaber cut Snoke in half, straight away, I was, oh, cool, I don't know where this is going, and I'm excited to find out. Plus, everything about Luke, I think Rian Johnson absolutely nailed. The jaded Jedi Master who comes back for one last heroic stand. It's everything I wanted his last story to be. So, that's it. Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
I love The Last Jedi because it reinvigorated my love for Star Wars. I'm an OT fan. I was 6 years old when A New Hope came out, and kind of plowed through the prequels and wasn't a big fan of them. And The Force Awakens was okay, but it was a little bit of a regurgitation. But The Last Jedi just took everything and it rhymed with what came before and yet set it in a new direction. And I was never so excited for the future of Star Wars as I was after The Last Jedi. And of course, those hopes were mostly dashed with The Rise of Skywalker. But The Last Jedi was kind of the golden age of being a Star Wars fan for me, even from what it was 44 years ago.
Hey, Tatooine Sons, it's Jeff from over here at the Blue Milk Cafe podcast, the Star Wars Positivity podcast. And you had asked on Twitter, who out there loves the movie The Last Jedi? I love the movie The Last Jedi, and the reasons why is I love seeing Rey's character develop and how it developed in this movie. I think they really dug into her character in this movie. Plus, we had Turbis. And who doesn't love Turbis the Porg? And thank you so much, Nate, again, for naming Turbis. And now we all can rest easy knowing that Turbis is finally officially canon. Well, that's why I love The Last Jedi. Happy Star Wars Day to you guys. And may the Force be with you.
Hey guys, this is Michael from A Certain Point of View. Listen, I could talk all day about what I love about The Last Jedi, but I'm going to focus in on Luke Skywalker. Luke in this movie is very difficult to watch for a good portion of it, and that's because we love Luke. We grew up with Luke, right? But he's made mistakes, and he goes off to this island with the goal of dying. That is his goal, to die. And seeing him in this movie go from the point of wanting to die to working through his past and talking with Rey and talking with Yoda and getting to the point where he actually goes to Crate, projects himself across the galaxy, saves the ones he loves, saves the Resistance, saves Leia, and becomes once again the symbol of hope for the galaxy again. And that is so beautifully shown simply by the ending with those kids on Canto Bight, playing with their Luke Skywalker action figures, reenacting the Battle of Crate. It is so powerful, and it is one of the main reasons why I love The Last Jedi. Thank y'all so much for letting me do this. If y'all wouldn't mind, go subscribe to A Certain Point of View wherever you listen to your podcast, and go follow us on Twitter at certain_POV pod, and on TikTok and Instagram at certain point of view pod. Thank you.
I love The Last Jedi because we got to see Luke training Rey. We got to see Rey fighting alongside Kylo Ren. we got to see Yoda telling Luke that he doesn't have to treat the holocrons as an instruction manual. They're more for guidance, and he can completely ignore them as well if he wants to, because there's no Jedi Order. He can make up all new rules. He can do whatever he wants to do. I loved seeing the Holdo maneuver. It was a visually stunning thing to see. I loved seeing Luke getting shot by an AT-AT because that scene reminded me so much of the scene in Dark Empire where that happened as well. And I loved seeing it in live action. I have so many reasons for loving The Last Jedi. I can be found on Twitter and Instagram as Lord Jedi, and I can be found on YouTube as Special Agent 45, and also TikTok as Special Agent 45.
Hey Tatooine Sons, thank you for this opportunity. It's really hard to pick one reason why I love The Last Jedi. There's just so many good things about it, like the cinematography, the sound design, the visual effects, the entire throne room section. But I think the main reason for me is that what the movie wants to say is all right there. There's no ambiguous messaging that might take some time to discover. The intent is clear from what I believe Rian Johnson wants to say. For example, there's always a spark of hope. There are no real victors in war. No one is really alone, and that no matter how old you are, there's always new lessons to learn, and old lessons to be relearned. May the 4th be with you guys, and trust the tide.
Hey there, I'm Mike from a YouTube channel called Star Wars Explored, and wow, The Last Jedi. I have a long mixed history with this movie, but I'll skip the long story and get to the result. I love it. It's awesome. It is masterfully written, and although I think they could have done a lot of things better in terms of translating the script to the screen, I still think they did a wonderful job. It looks, sounds, feels amazing, and it's such a rewatchable movie. I really adore it. Unfortunately, it is really underrated, and even for me, for a long time, I hated it. I bought into the kind of hate bandwagon because that's where the fandom was at the time. It was very toxic. I can only hope that by making content about it, and as the years go by naturally and the fans who grew up with it will grow older, hopefully the fandom will have a more positive opinion overall, kind of like with the prequels.
Hello there, it's me, Ben, from my Twitter account at @SoundYourLove. So, what I truly loved about Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, is that Rian Johnson captured and delivered a brilliant, amazing, powerfully deep storyline, while he also defied fans' expectations, subverting it into something unusual, yet it also might felt uncomfortable. But to me, it's one of the most beautiful Star Wars movies in the visually in the making, entertaining even for multiple viewings, and a deeply deserved continuation for Star Wars The Force Awakens, even when it doesn't meet any of our theories. And it's definitely a breathtaking game changer to the Skywalker saga as a whole. Thank you so much.
Hey, David, Sam, and Nate. This is Adam from the From a Certain Point of View podcast. First of all, right off the bat, I want to promise I'm not trying to be contrary here. I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade. I know this whole idea is to share what we love about this movie, and I think it's awesome that you're organizing this. But I actually didn't love The Last Jedi. However, that doesn't mean that there aren't things that I love about The Last Jedi. For example, I love the Yoda wisdom. I think it's some of the best Yoda dialogue in the saga. Even more importantly than that, though, I love that this has given so many people something to love. I love that one of my best friends and my podcast co-host came to love this movie as much as he does, and I love that you three love it so much that you just want to put together an episode like this just to talk about how much you love it. I think that we as a people have lost the ability to talk about things that we don't love, or maybe even things that we don't like, but still recognize that someone else loves that very same thing so much. So what I really love about The Last Jedi is the fact that it's a reminder that something I don't particularly enjoy is able to bring so much happiness to so many other people. So thank you guys so much for organizing this. I love that you're doing this. Happy Star Wars Day, and may the 4th be with you all.
Hi, my name's Ashley, but if you're on Twitter, you might know me better as Kylo10 at Fulcrum Andor. I think one of my favorite things about The Last Jedi is that it deals so heavily with the topic of failure and messing up. And learning from your failure. I think pretty much every main character in this movie messes up and has to learn from it and has to learn how to move on. And I think Ryan said it so beautifully when he said that when he was writing this script, his approach was, what is the worst thing that can happen to each of these characters? And I think for pretty much all of them, it ended up being them messing up. I think it's such a beautiful lesson to learn in a Star Wars movie that when you mess up, you have to move on, and sometimes good things can come out of those mistakes. So I hope you all have a great Star Wars week, and I hope you all enjoy The Last Jedi as much as I do. May the Force be with you.
Hi, my name is Bo Murphy, and I just want to say that I love The Last Jedi. From the mind-blowing visual and practical effects to the brilliant musical score composed by John Williams, to the incredible performances delivered by both the new and original cast members of Star Wars. This movie also includes plenty of surprising plot twists and iconic Star Wars moments, from Rey and Ben Solo teaming up against the elite Praetorian Guard, the surprise guest appearance of Yoda, and of course, we cannot forget that this was the last on-screen performance of Carrie Fisher, who will forever remain our beloved Princess Leia Organa Solo Skywalker. Well, thank you so much again for your time, and as always, may the Force be with you.
Matthew here from the Ion Canon podcast. Happy to talk about how wonderful The Last Jedi is. I watched it 10 times in the theater and I never got bored. The pacing, the acting, the themes, the music, everything completely energized me and excited me and entertained and informed and challenged me in ways I did not expect the Star Wars film to ever do. The way it handles, especially the themes of tradition, carrying on what we have learned, innovation, the challenge to take what we've learned and adapt and respond to the needs of the present moment. Rey stepping into her own as the next Jedi, Luke learning to give that up and let go. And so I love it. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Ion Canon podcast every Monday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Look us up on YouTube.
The Last Jedi teaches us that everyone makes mistakes, that failure is the greatest teacher, that picking no side is siding with the oppressors, that we must save those we love rather than destroy what we hate, that it's not our job to fix people who hurt us and refuse to change, that hope is like the sun, and that the true burden of all masters is that they need to be someone for their students to grow beyond. Luke failed Ben because he was putting so much pressure on himself to be the savior of the galaxy. He had to learn that he's not the savior, and neither is Rey, and neither was Anakin or Yoda. They're all just incremental steps towards being wiser and kinder. That's why the film ends with yet another generation being the next New Hope. Luke won't be the last Jedi, and neither will Rey, because anyone who lives with compassion and selflessness, in harmony with nature and defends the oppressed, is a Jedi. The Force does not belong to the Jedi. They belong to the Force. We all do. You can find me on YouTube and Twitter as Jaina Solo 1994.
My name is Thomas, and I love The Last Jedi. There's a lot that I can say about this wonderful movie, but to keep it short and simple, The Last Jedi tells a difficult story about what happens when a hero falls, but how even after a fall, that same hero can just always get back up, and there's a chance for hope and a chance to help make things better. Combine that with great performances and action, and you've got the best movie of the sequel trilogy, and one of the two best released by Disney, the other being Rogue One. And if you're a EU/Legends fan, you can check out the TK331 podcast, where my wife and I read an EU novel, an EU short story every month and discuss it. You can find that on Twitter at TK331 podcast.
The Last Jedi is a cinematic masterpiece. Not only is The Last Jedi the most visually stunning movie in the entire Skywalker saga, but it exemplifies one of the pillars of Star Wars, which is redemption. The Last Jedi shows the redemption of Luke Skywalker from his self-imposed punishment and exile for his perceived failures to not only his new Jedi Order, but to his sister, his nephew, and the galaxy as a whole. And he was only able to move on and save the galaxy one last time with the help of another Force-sensitive orphan from a desert planet.
Hi, this is David.
And this is Timothy.
And we are As Father and Son. And we love The Last Jedi. When Luke said this isn't going to go the way you think, he wasn't kidding. But it went better than I could have thought because it deepened my love for all of Star Wars. The deepness of the story arcs for all the characters just really hit home emotionally for me.
Yeah, and for me, Luke Skywalker is my favorite fictional character. He's been my hero since I was 2 years old, and to see him go through something that took him to a low point that he then overcame was exactly what I needed to see my hero do. And it made him and it made Star Wars and it made all of it matter even more for me.
Yeah, humanizing Luke in such a way that people like me who have lived a little bit longer can say things that happen in life do change you a bit, but then he became the legend that he always was anyway.
That's what Star Wars is for.
Exactly. And we love Star Wars. So you can find our videos on YouTube /As Father and Son. So thanks, guys.
May the Force be with you.
Hey guys, this is Mike with the Bright Sons podcast. And among the myriad of reasons that I love The Last Jedi, I'd have to say that my favorite thing about the movie is that it challenges character stereotypes and these tropes that we see so often, like Poe Dameron being this ace hotshot pilot, really being challenged by Holdo and Leia to see what it takes to be a great leader and not just, the ace hotshot pilot. And Finn, finding out what it takes to really commit to a cause, and that above dying for something, there's living for something, and Rose really teaches him that. So I think the challenges that these characters face is the best part of the movie. Again, my name is Mike. I'm with the Bright Sons podcast, and you can find me on Twitter @Bright Sons Media. Thanks, guys.
Hi, everyone. This is Colby Mead from the Colby Cast. I remember walking out of the theater in stunned silence when The Last Jedi was over. In short, I think this film is a masterpiece. It dethroned my childhood favorite, Return of the Jedi, as my favorite Star Wars movie. The writing, the visuals, the performances, they combine to make a movie that has only gotten better with age, and a movie that when I watch it, I cannot take my eyes off the screen. Kylo Ren's petulance, Rey's conflict, Luke overcoming his fear and guilt to face the entire First Order with a laser sword, Leia's quiet leadership. I could go on, but you get the point. I'll end with two of my favorite quotes from the movie that is full of memorable lines. I'm sure that they've been shared many, many times, but that's just a testament to the brilliance of this movie. The greatest teacher failure is, and we're going to win this war not by fighting what we hate, but saving what we love.
Hey guys, this is Jedi Dave, co-host of the Canadian Star Wars podcast Destination Hoth. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify. Now, since 1983, I have waited to find out the next chapter of our hero's story. The sequel trilogy not only gave us that closure, but left open a door to explore their journey over the past 30 years and gave us new characters to be excited about in the future of this franchise. The Last Jedi is the centerpiece of that trilogy. As with all Star Wars films, it is beautifully stunning, has a captivating story, and provides new depth to our existing characters. But it also gave us twists, turns, and visuals like we had never seen before. It's loyal to the things that we learned about the Jedi in The Empire Strikes Back, and all of the other cultural elements that we learned about in the original trilogy. It also gave us a subtle pathway to the future of the Star Wars franchise. You gotta love The Last Jedi.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and one of my reasons why I like The Last Jedi is I think it's a beautifully shot movie, and it does bring a lot of interesting concepts to the franchise and a lot of interesting new ideas. And Rian Johnson did a pretty good job with that. And I did love the dynamic between Rey and Kylo Ren, and I did enjoy the Luke Skywalker stuff in the movie as well. And I would say this is the best out of the sequel trilogy, because it is, I'd say the boldest out of the sequel trilogy. It's a lot bolder and takes more risks and challenges as well. And that's just a little brief description why I like The Last Jedi. And you can find me on Twitter @DanRS87 and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jedi Master Daniel 96.
The Last Jedi is one of the most beautifully shot Star Wars films to date. It has the most work put in the choreography. It has the most work put into the design, the sets, and the background influence. And that's one of the main reasons why we do love this film here at the Jawa Juice, is because the attention to detail is kind of what we need in Star Wars, giving us the connections to Octu and the Prime Jedi. That's something that a lot of fans get really interested in when we talk about old Jedi stuff. Outside the cinematography and choreography of the film, some of the more beautiful elements that we find is the connection between Rey and Kylo Ren through the Force, and how they're able to feed off of each other and kind of look inside each other's minds and learn from each other in a way. For us here at the Jawa Juice, we find these to be the best elements of The Last Jedi, and some of the main reasons why we think it is a beloved film.
Hey y'all, it's JG Cars, and my gosh, The Last Jedi is easily my second favorite Star Wars movie. This film is beautiful from start to finish. It has incredible cinematography, beautiful imagery, but ultimately it is the end with Temiri Blaggs and that moment where he uses the Force to hold the broom as if it's a lightsaber, and he looks and he sees the starship or the star in the sky. It just really exemplifies hope and the message that the resistance and rebellion will not die, and that it is in the future of the youth there. And just overall, that message, it's so powerful, into where we're seeing that old grizzled Luke and how he's practically given up hope. And by the end, he doesn't, and he is able to reignite that fire with the resistance to inspire the new generations and the next generations. And we see that in Temiri. And so that's one main reason why I love this film so much, and why it still resonates with me today.
This is Spencer from the Virtual Cantina, and I love The Last Jedi. It's new, it's fresh, it turns the whole saga on its head. The Battle Crate is easily the greatest and most beautiful widescreen shot in all of Star Wars. And it's just different. It doesn't follow the same monotonous, repetitive storyline that Star Wars tends to get it in. It's not a diet version of any other property. That's why I love The Last Jedi. And I hope to see you all at the Boonta Eve Cantina on May the 25th at Big's Bar and Grill from 4 to midnight. This is the way.
Hey guys, this is Nick from Podcast of the Wills and ATGcast, and I wanted to pop in to throw my answer at your question about why I love The Last Jedi so much. And I really think, as much as I think about that movie, as much as I rewatch that movie, as much as it means to me, I think a lot of what I love about it is it's because it's the movie that has grown up alongside me. I grew up an original trilogy kid. I was born in the late 70s, and those movies were always the ones that I carried with me. And I have said for a long time that Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie, which it is, but Last Jedi came along and it met me in a lot of places that I was. As a parent, growing up, seeing the world not be what I thought the world was going to be. This is not going to go the way you think. Reflections in fandom. There are so many things in this movie, and these 60 seconds aren't enough time to get to it. But I love it unapologetically, and I think I've decided that Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie, but The Last Jedi is unequivocally the best Star Wars movie. So thanks for taking this message, and may the Force be with you.
So if you're listening to a Star Wars podcast, you probably are all too aware of the controversy surrounding The Last Jedi. We did not want this episode to be an argument for Episode 8 and against any of the other films. Instead, we wanted this episode to remind all of you who love The Last Jedi why you love it. And for those of you who may not feel the same way, maybe you can get a glimpse as to why we feel the way that we do and celebrate that along with us on this Star Wars Day. But you also may have noticed that there are 3 voices missing from this episode. Sam, Nate, and I didn't share our thoughts on why we love The Last Jedi, and that's because there was no way we could get get it all done in 60 seconds like we asked you guys to do it. So that's why we're hosting a special screening of The Last Jedi on streamlounge.io this coming Saturday evening, May 7th, 2022 at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we are going to be helping them wrap up their Star Wars Week celebration. It is free to anyone who has a Disney Plus account. You can log into the watch party, chat alongside us as we give our running audio commentary on this masterpiece live, right alongside you guys, talking about it with you in the chat. We cannot wait for you to join us on this. I think that it's going to be a wonderful way to end this amazing week as we are in what is now becoming like the Star Wars month. This is the May with that. I think that's going to do it for today. Make sure you grab a glass of blue or maybe even green milk for all you Last Jedi lovers out there. Raise a toast in celebration of Star Wars Day, and may the 4th be with you.
May the Force be with you always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Joy, please.